Hello, hello, MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. It is August 10, 2018. How's everybody in the chat doing this morning? See a few familiar names and faces. Dennis, hello. Michelle, Ben. Well, hello, hello. Chip Merkley, Eileen, hello. Well, today we're going to talk about Relic Hunter Season 6. Which has actually been the topic for a few Feedback Fridays now. But everything's coming together well functionally. We have a lot of kind of loose ends to tie up as we playtest, and we're looking for some feedback on a couple specific things for Relic Hunter Season 6 when it comes to Scavenger Hunt Maps. So we touched base on this, I think, on 2 Feedback Fridays ago, where one of the larger new features coming with Relic Hunter Season 6 are Scavenger Hunts, and you can kind of think of these as treasure maps where you're going to find loot drops instead of capturing specific mice to make progress. This was actually a suggestion that came during Feedback Friday, I think a number of weeks ago, so we started to kind of brainstorm that, pull it together a little bit, and overall it looks pretty fun. It's an interesting new concept, and now that we're able to play through it, I've liked kind of seeing the items appear and kind of the gears get turning, like, wait, where can I find that item? Where's the best spot? And then that extra layer of looking in your inventory and thinking, well, like, okay, well, what am I best equipped for? Where can I go to find that item? So it's been an interesting thing to try out so far. We've built a list of 180 items right now. That's currently what it is at. We organize them by roughly by difficulty as well as title requirement. So we could put together some easy, medium, and hard scavenger hunt maps and get those sort of targeted at different level of hunters. That said, I think it's going to be the intended audience for it's going to be a little bit higher level. They feel a little bit more challenging. You kind of need a little bit more knowledge about the game and where to find stuff. So I think they're going to be a little bit higher level maps that they're going to be aimed at. Fantastic. Hey. Feedback Friday banner still isn't up, it seems. All right, I'll take a look at that, maybe. Let's take a quick look. Yeah. Maybe it's just been turned off for a bit. Really digging the idea of scavenger hunts. Good to hear it. Chong says that base is uncovered. Is that base going to be the new season Relic Hunter chest reward? Yes. So we might dig into that a little bit later. But there will actually be 2 new limited edition rewards this season, 2 different bases to find. So not to disappoint Stejan, if I'm saying your name correctly there, that the Black Widow themed base is also going to be included as well. But that last 2 weeks ago, that one was on top. And this one is more Froma themed. So I'll kind of let some speculation of what those bases may do for you. So there's a couple areas we're looking for feedback on. One of those things has to do with treasure map clues. So with regular maps, thematically you're tracking down those clues from mice to try to figure out where the chest has been hidden. However, as we're kind of pulled this together, it doesn't really feel thematically appropriate or doesn't really work the best with scavenger hunts to have treasure map clues. Especially because you're looking for a specific item to drop. So it was a bit odd, like, cool, I found a radioactive blue potion. So that dropped off the mouse and I make some progress on the map, but then because it dropped that item, it also dropped the treasure map clue. And then if a mouse dropped 2, 3, or even 4 items all at the same time that were all on your map, would you then get 4 clues simultaneously? It just felt a little bit off to us. So what we're currently planning on doing is tracking the scavenger hunt items found as a separate stat. Kind of, you can think of it as a scoreboard. There's a scoreboard for total treasure map clues found. There'd be a scoreboard for scavenger hunt items found. Now that said, unlike the treasure map clues, that wouldn't be an item that drops off the mouse. Just when you make progress on the map and you were the hunter that found that item as a loot drop, your entry in the scoreboard would go up, and then we'd probably display that stat as part of the invite interface when you're inviting other people to your scavenger hunt map. So we kind of pull the stat off the scoreboard to show it to you there. Suzanne says, good move to downgrade Relic Hunter Maps so that MH newbies can join. I'm not quite sure I know what you mean by that. Sounds like a pretty nice way to do things. Sounds good. So far some positive feedback. So we're definitely want hunters to let us know if you see any sort of caveats we're not thinking of, or if you think that's a good way to approach things. Kind of having the two separate scoreboards, one for most treasure map clues found, one for most scavenger hunt items found. And then it'll also be a nice signal when you're looking at your friends or you're looking to invite somebody to your map. You can see, well, this person really loves scavenger hunts. They've done a lot of them. They find lots of items. They obviously participate in them a lot. Dave, your voice is being relayed at Dave's microphone on Discord. That's interesting. Can there be a use for map clues? I think we've always been a little bit hesitant to add a use for them or make them requirements for anything. Just because you get the same, you get one clue whether you go and get the rarest, most hard mouse on the map, or whether you get a white, gray, and a brown mouse and you get 3. So they're not a great measure of total amount of effort you're putting into it. I think they're more of just kind of an interesting thing to collect. In terms of a scoreboard, that doesn't really do anything for you. It doesn't give you any in-game benefits. I think it's an interesting scoreboard as long as it doesn't get related to requirements for stuff. And it's a little bit of a signal, at least somewhat of a cue when you're looking to invite somebody. You can see, well, at least, if they have 100, they know what they're doing. They've done a few maps. You know that they're interested in doing maps, probably. As long as you have some indication or notification that you've gotten the drop. So you don't just keep hunting in the area without realizing you've gotten it. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I know when I'm doing a map and I see a treasure map clue drop, although sometimes it's on a passive hunt, it's in the past, I don't notice it, but certainly when I'm hunting right from the app or on an active hunt, I find it. That usually signals in my brain, like, I'm going to go check the map and see if there's still some mice to find. That actually might be especially important because we're not really able to do the same hints of like items found in your area as we can do with mice found in the area, and we put a little exclamation mark for the maps to show, hey, you're in an area and none of the mice, or no mice on the map that are uncaught are still in the area. That's a nice cue that maybe you should travel as well. Unfortunately, with there's just technical limitations. I don't think we'll be able to do it with loot drops. There's just kind of way too many things that affect loot drops, add them. There's things like auras and charms. A lot of times, based on sort of your positioning within an area, that's what makes a mouse start dropping loot. Can we have the option to sort by hunters currently in hunting areas on the invite? That did come across, open to seeing what other hunters think. In the interim, though, you can go to your friends page and you can filter all your friends by a specific environment, and you can invite people to your map right from there. Now you can't see total clues found, that sort of thing, from the interface as well. But something we'll keep in mind if we keep getting it as a suggestion. Will the Slayer Scroll still be available as a rare drop from the Relic Hunter chest? Yes. So the Relic Hunter chests, and currently anyway, the plan is the Scavenger Hunts are going to reward the same chests as the Relic Hunter chests, so they will also have a chance to find the Slayer Scroll. That's pretty well the only reliable source of the Slayer Scroll, at least outside of Gilded Maps. When you get M400 intel, there's a little red number that comes up on the quest tab. Maybe you can add notification. That might be a nice way to approach it. I think, off the top of our head, we'd probably do it as a journal entry, but as an interface element, that sounds interesting as well. Kind of one fewer journal entry to have to add. Yeah, Eileen does that with the friends page. Go by if they're already on a map and how long ago their last hunt was. Okay, so overall, I think we had positive feedback about separating the treasure map clues from the scavenger hunt items found. You can kind of leave this open. We'll see in the summary too. Perhaps over the weekend, I think we're looking to make a decision probably Monday. Next week's going to be a lot of all the little loose ends. Everything's functionally working. We have a lot of the interfaces built. We can play test it, but there's the little details like scoreboards and exactly fine tuning the list of items, which is what we'll get to next, I think. Are we going to be able to sort by column in the map interface? Yes, that is a little quality of life improvement coming with Relic Hunter Season 6. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I think I went through all the kind of the little tiny tweaks, the quality of life stuff that we're adding as part of Season 6, and one is you can sort by the headers. There's a couple other things as well. You'll be able to see your progress towards finding the limited edition item, or at least how many treasure chests you have opened so far this season. And there's a little progress bar to sort of show where you are reaching that goal of 30, because your 30th chest is always guaranteed to have the limited edition item. Chip agrees they should be separated, helpful to amounts on the scoreboard. Great idea. I can't see any downsides to separating them. Certainly, I think it would work if we combine them into one stat, but I think separating them has more benefits. Then you can see, well, this person's done a lot of treasure maps, this person's done a lot of scavenger maps. And if you're ever curious to see maps in general, you can just add those two numbers together. So I can't really see a downside to doing it. Sally says, yay. Glad to hear the excitement. All right, so the next thing we need a little bit of feedback on has to do with the items that will be included in scavenger hunts and how we're organizing them. So we've tried to build a list with lots of variety. Like I said, we have 180 items currently. We've tried to avoid frustrating items, so things like sandblasted metal, temporal shadow plates, things that are kind of overly rare, but still include some tricky items. But those tricky items, we're trying to find things that maybe take a little bit of time to find, or you need some high-level cheese, but the drop itself isn't particularly frustrating to go after. It's not completely uncertain how long it's going to take you to find that item. So you can think of things, when it comes to tricky items, things like unstable ember gadgets, mystic curds, onyx stones, sort of things like that. You need higher level tier cheese. If you have to start off at square one, you're going to have to sort of build your way up, work through some tiers of progress to get toward the mouse that drops that item. But wanted to avoid things, like I said, temporal shadow plates, sandblasted metal, things where you don't have a lot of autonomy over when is that item going to drop. And specifically, those items are kind of meant to be a little bit rare, and really you get lucky or you get them off the marketplace sort of thing, and those are the ones we're looking to avoid. Like Mysterious Box from Acolyte, that's another good example as well. I believe that is on the list now. But so every time you capture the Acolyte, it drops a Mysterious Box. So it's just more of, do I have enough runic cheese? Do I want to sit for a day or two, maybe 3? The Acolyte's not too rare, and especially as a higher level player coming back to the Acolyte realm, you have some pretty good forgotten traps where when the Acolyte shows up, you're probably going to catch him now. Whereas 8 years ago or whenever it came out, it was pretty uncertain whether you would catch the Acolyte. Will these scavenger maps work like the chests? Hard, rare, that sort of thing? Yes. So there's going to be easy, medium, hard, elaborate, arduous, elite. And you'll be able to dust the map to find a rare version of the chests. And the chests right now, they are going to be the same as you get for doing a regular Relic Hunter map. And that means you have a chance to find a Slayer Scroll in them. You can find the limited edition seasonal rewards by doing scavenger hunts as well. We are kind of playing with the rewards just as we test it a bit and get some feedback on this as well. Inherently, these feel a little more challenging than the regular maps because you need a little bit more game knowledge, and it's a little more situational because if they tell you to find scrap metal, for instance, right? Well, there's a few spots where you could go get that scrap metal, and so things influencing your decision are, well, what has the highest drop rate of it. And then you also have to kind of consider your inventory. Well, okay, maybe the lagoon is good for it, but I'm not really set up for that. I'm going to go to Sunken City because I have tons of oxygen and I'm in a good spot. I have lots of anchor charms, and I think I can find my scrap metal there instead. Or you might choose to go to the Toxic Spill, depending on your supplies and stuff. So we're kind of playing around with maybe adding an additional reward to the chest. So when you claim the chest, you might get 2 things for doing scavenger hunts. Or alternatively, we might just make the list of items on scavenger hunts a little smaller than the number of mice you have to capture on regular maps, so that although finding the items is a little harder, you have to find fewer items to get the same reward as a map. We're kind of weighing the pros and cons and playtesting both ways right now. Please no monolith base, that's overkill. I don't think the monolith base is on the map. Boss items from the labyrinth, because that's a grind. I think some of the harder maps right now, we do have the Power Core Hammer, Sacred Script, the mini boss drops, and I think Shiny Precious Gold, although that one has a bit of an asterisk next to it to see if we'll include that. Chip saying like the idea of mixing a larger percentage with medium-ish items, several hard items. Yeah, that's a good point too. That is how we're kind of laying them out, and you know, it's not immediately obvious with maps, but the scavenger hunts are laid out similar to maps, where we group the items. There's sort of easy, medium, and hard items, and when the game is putting together the scavenger hunt for you, it's going to pick, let's say, 10 hard items, 10 medium items, 10 easy items. So that's how it kind of makes sure that we can control how many tricky items appear on the map, but it's not RNG where you might end up with all the hard items. We kind of group them into separate categories, and then the map picks X, Y, and Z amount from each category. And maps work the same way. We usually group the maps into easy mice, kind of tricky mice, and boss mice. And it kind of breaks it down there for a lot of the maps. Another little categorization that we're doing with scavenger hunts as well is title requirements. So typically higher level players are going to be more likely to find the more challenging maps, and those maps are going to try to include more higher level items, but separated from difficulty. So an example is an easy map might be targeted at lower level hunters, maybe knights or something like that, and it might include let's say splintered wood as the easy item. So you might find splintered wood, okay, cool, that's not too hard to get, I'll go get that. Whereas a higher level hunter, they'll still find some easy items, but it'll be things like cavern fungus. So again, it's very straightforward to get. You're going to go to the fungal cavern, probably get it on the very first hunt sort of thing. So there's sort of categorizations of difficulty as well as title appropriateness, and as they go up in difficulty, it might have the same number of easy items, but the easy items are things that you find in higher level areas as well. Are you looking to give them similar time frames needed to complete them, or intentionally not doing this? That's what we're kind of playing around with right now. Obviously, they give the same reward, so right off the bat, that makes me think they should take about the same amount of time to finish because they're both giving the same reward. But as we play test, we're getting this feeling that the scavenger hunt maps, they just feel a little bit more challenging. So we might want to make them have a little better reward, and they might take a little longer to do than a regular map. Yeah, Ryan pointed out the map interface, not the friend interface. We're open to that. We're going to see how many more suggestions we get, whether we want to add more information to the map invite interface, kind of in the interim. Sorry, that's kind of the way you can do it for now. Will there be a 20 for 20 rare map dust package in the future? Yes, we plan to bring that back with the start of the Relic Hunter season for a week or two. Will there be grades to the maps, Relic Hunter upgrades? Little chat's scrolling up on me. Will there be grades to it? Yeah, there'll be the easy, medium, hard, elaborate, arduous, elite, and then you can dust the map and find rare chests for those. Deep thoughts from the mouse as hard to drop. Do those things not count as items? I don't think we have the deep thoughts. Any of those really kind of rare collectibles, I think I would put that in the category of more frustrating than challenging, at least when you're told to go out and get it, because the maps feel like they have a short-term time frame. They have a short horizon on them, and I think when you combine, you're given a small time frame or the expectation of a smaller time frame. If you combine that with something that it has a long horizon to actually go and get it, then that's kind of where the frustration kicks in, and it doesn't feel challenging, it feels frustrating. So I think we're going to try to avoid any of those rare drops. Will items have to be found as fresh drops? Yes, so it literally needs to drop from the mouse. So in the journal where it says, additionally the mouse dropped the following loot, the item has to appear there in order for it to register. So you can't use existing items from your inventory, you can't open up gift boxes, chests, that sort of thing to put them in your inventory and get progress. They literally have to drop as loot from the mouse. And that's just to kind of give a little bit of a time frame to the scavenger maps as well. So if you could open up chests and find, let's say, an ultimate luck charm inside of the chest, and that counts towards your scavenger hunt, then with perfect scenario anyway, there would be no sort of minimum time it would take to complete a scavenger hunt, because technically you could have tons and tons of these things in your inventories, open up a scavenger map, click some buttons, done, next, done, and you could do 100 in a day. Obviously, that I don't think that would be impossible to do, but By having to actually loot off the mouse, then if there's 20 items, it's going to take at least one hunt. If you could find one mouse that drops all 20 items, that'd be as fast as you could possibly do it, would be 15 minutes. Sounds a bit like Crystal Library assignments. Yeah, a little bit. One day we want to kind of overhaul the Crystal Library. Franco had a really fun idea how to tie that in with codexes to kind of craft codexes, but it might be a while before we get to that point. Will items be consumed upon turn-in? No. You get to keep them. They'll stay in your inventory. It's just kind of a check mark progress. Hey, you found the item. Good job. Can you confirm, are all items just going to be 1 to catch, or will the number you need to be catch different based on one item? They'll all just be 1. Will items that are supposed to only drop once, yet never again, be on scavengers? No. So anything, and that's on our list as well, we want to do a quick audit to make sure anything that has a maximum inventory quantity is not on the list, so you don't sabotage yourself by having too many of them in your inventory and you don't get the drop. So things like, or papyrus, for instance, like once you build the base, you can't get any more papyrus. Map pieces as well. When you have the map piece, you don't find it again the second time. So things like that we want to avoid. It's a little bit of work. There's a lot of items to go through, categorize them, and then there's little caveats to make sure that we don't make a map that's impossible to solve. Yep, you get to keep the items, can confirm that. You don't turn them in. When you make the nav kit, you can get all the items again. But again, just things with the max inventory quantity, I think we'll avoid them just so that you don't kind of forget that, ooh, so right, I got to craft another kit so I can go and collect the items again. And we certainly have enough items that there's a large variety. What's the trap base for Season 6? For now, we'll just leave it at there is going to be a Feroma-themed base and there is going to be a Black Widow-themed base. But, we'll leave it to speculation for now about their exact effects. How are we supposed to find the scavenger scrolls dropped from the Relic Hunter? That's actually a very good question as well, something that we need some feedback on because we're a little bit unsure. It's on our loose ends list as well for the next couple weeks. Right now we're planning on allowing you to upgrade or exchange, I guess is a better word, any existing Relic Hunter scroll case. You can exchange it for a Scavenger Map scroll case instead. And it just kind of felt like the nice or the best balance to give you choice over what kind of map you want to do, because they lead to similar rewards. Well, right now they lead to the same reward, so it really is more of a preference thing. Do you want to try to find items or do you want to try to find mice? So we thought just giving you full control over that felt best. And how about event scavenger maps, or no, because that sounds hard because an event is timed. We want to leave the door open to that as well. Even from a technical perspective, we've left the ability open to have a map that kind of combines both, where it's find these mice and find these items. We don't have any designed right now that leverage that functionality, but we have left it in just in case we want to do that in the future, or we want to utilize it maybe for an event. Something might be fun. Mentioned a couple weeks ago, but a quality of life improvement coming is that you're allowed to be on 3 maps at the same time. You can be on a regular map or scavenger map. You can be on an event map or scavenger map, and you can be on a wanted poster all at the same time. So we've added we've added 3 tabs to the treasure map interface. So now you can be on a wanted poster, a map, and an event map all at the same time. That said, you can't do a scavenger map and a treasure map at the same time. They're going to be grouped together, and that kind of just simplifies things so you don't have too many objectives going on. As well as when it gets to event season, if we do have event maps and event scavenger hunts, that it'd feel natural then to have 2 more tabs, and then we'd be up to 5 maps at the same time. Would be starting to feel a little bit crazy. Can you get the Season 6 bases from Scavenger Maps? Yes, right now they are going to lead to the exact same chest. So you can get, if you do a hard treasure map, or a hard Relic Hunter treasure map, or a hard scavenger map, they both lead to a hard treasure chest. That said, we are still doing some playtesting, and we're trying to decide whether we want to make scavenger maps a little shorter than Relic Hunter maps, or whether we want to just buff the rewards a little bit. Maybe you get 2 things. Maybe some sort of loot boosting aura would come from doing the scavenger maps. And we're going to be doing a lot of playtesting over the next week or 2 to kind of hammer out some of the final details. If you catch a mouse on both maps, it counts for both, right? That is correct. So I don't think that'll happen too often, but certainly some events we use mice that already exist in the game, or they're not comprised entirely of event mice. So let's say there's a Halloween map and the ghost mouse is in the Halloween area, and you're doing a Halloween map with a ghost mouse on it, and you're doing a mausoleum map with a ghost mouse on it. When you capture the ghost mouse, you get progress across 2 places. I also just wanted to test, I don't know if you'll get 2 treasure map clues, you may want to test that out. Will elite relic hunter maps be a thing in Season 6, or is Arduous still the highest thing out there? Yes, Arduous will still be the highest thing out there. We're waiting for an Archduke area before rolling out the elite difficulty. That's it. I can't say for certainty whether Scavenger Hunt maps will be the same. I think there might be enough items that we could do an elite Scavenger Hunt difficulty. Imagine the Slayer Scavenger Hunt. That's interesting. Yeah, if we did that would open the door to a similar themed Scavenger Hunt where it's all boss drop items. But that might be hard. A lot of the bosses have some rare drops. So. Any more thought on being able to do Scavenger solo with less people for a bigger reward? Ultimately, we shied away from it, partly time constraints, and it also it took away from some of the co-op feeling that maps have. So if you got a bigger reward for doing a map by yourself, then it also kind of incentivizes it to try to do it alone, and it kind of pulled in the opposite direction of the sort of social and cooperative nature of maps. So we ended up deciding against that. It'd be cool if the location where you can find maps changed, like Relic Hunter. If the location where you can find Scavenger Maps changed, like the Relic Hunter, it will kind of leverage that, because right now anyway, unless we kind of change things while playtesting, you're going to start a Scavenger Map by finding the Relic Hunter and getting a Relic Hunter scroll case, and then you can exchange that for a Scavenger Map scroll case. So it kind of ties everything in with the Relic Hunter still, because the maps are going to lead to the seasonal rewards. They're the Relic Hunter things. They kind of all group everything together to find those rewards. You need to be tracking down the Relic Hunter, and at least that's the first step in finding those chests. Will Scavenger be bought like Relic Hunter? Well, the Relic Hunter scroll cases, I don't think you can buy them with relics unless I'm mistaken, so it won't be like area-specific maps. You won't be spending relics to start them. At least right now, kind of open to feedback. Obviously, we want to kind of share some of these ideas to get feedback, help mold our decisions over the next 2 weeks. Glad you're going to get bigger rewards for fewer. Oh, glad you're not going to get bigger rewards for fewer people doing maps. Initial impression, it kind of sounded neat, something to help out if you're going solo on a map. But just as we kind of thought things through and kind of prototyped it a bit, it felt counterintuitive to the overall sort of teamwork nature of the maps, and it almost felt like, well, maybe I do want to do this by myself so that I can get a bigger reward just for me. Like I said, it pulled in the opposite direction of the sort of cooperative theme of maps. There's already a Scavenger Mouse from the Forgotten Mice. Is the mouse name going to be different? No. So it'll just be a happy coincidence. There was some thought about making the Scavenger Mouse the one that drops Scavenger Maps, but it didn't quite work out to tie it to the lower level areas like that. Right now there's a 20 scroll limit on Relic Hunter scrolls. Will this one be shared with Scavengers? That's a very good point, actually. No plan to do it right now, but that does sort of leave open the option of you can trade in your Relic Hunter scroll cases for Scavenger Hunt scroll cases, and now you can start to find Relic Hunter scroll cases again. The maximum quantity that was added originally to allow hunters to sort of preserve their relics if they just happened to be, by coincidence, hunting in the same place as the Relic Hunter, and they had no interest in doing Relic Hunter maps, that they wouldn't start to lose relics due to that. I don't think it'll be a huge issue if you exchange them one at a time. But yeah, we'll have to kind of see how that works out. By all means, if you're interested in doing Scavenger Maps, and the way to start them is by finding Relic Hunter scroll cases, then I think if if you exchange your Relic Hunter scroll case for a Scavenger Hunt scroll case, that means you are interested in getting more Relic Hunter scroll cases as well, so I don't think it'll feel that bad when the Relic Hunter shows up, takes a relic and gives you another case, because you've chosen to do Scavenger Hunts. So I think anyway, you'd be okay with having more of the resource that lets you start more Scavenger Hunts. Can they be traded back? That's an interesting suggestion. I guess I would suggest just buying them one at a time for now. There's some awkwardness with selling something back to the store when you have a max inventory quantity on an item. Oh, Eileen says that was an oops, yeah. Still 5 hunters per map. Currently, yes, although with Relic Hunter Season 6, we added the ability to have maps with different quantity of hunters. We're considering the rainbow, bumping it up to 6 hunters per rainbow map. We're not going to have any maps, at least off the bat, with Relic Hunter Season 6, but it was a relatively straightforward change that we put forth. We're already redoing the interface for it, so it was a good opportunity to allow the functionality to exist to have different maximum number of hunters per map. But right now, I think the only thing that might change is the rainbow map. We kind of ran that by hunters a couple weeks ago about bumping it up to 6. Had relatively positive feedback, so I think we may do that. Well, it costs more relics to buy the scavenger scrolls. Sorry, not planning to at the moment, no. It kind of comes down to the final sort of rewards that they end up giving you, but if they end up being the exact same as the Relic Hunter map in terms of rewards, I don't think we would add a relic cost to exchanging them. Will there be rainbow scavenger maps? That might be an interesting thing. Might kind of see how the feedback goes once everything's live. Also, we continue to get feedback even after something's released. Do patches or updates to it as time goes, but like maps, if they turn out to be very popular, something that hunters are doing lots of, then a rainbow scavenger hunt does sound kind of fun. All right, and on that note, we will wrap things up here with the trivia question. Swift says, getting ahead of ourselves here with the rainbow scavenger maps. Yeah, definitely it doesn't need to be a initial release day sort of thing, but definitely the door's open to add different types of maps, get player feedback. Often the most creative ideas come from after players start to play something and they do it in a way that you didn't anticipate, or they come up with more creative ideas based on the existing gameplay. So we're always open up to adding things down the road as well, and that's how Rainbow Maps came to be as well. We saw hunters enjoyed doing maps and thought, well, what about a really big, long, challenging one? Slayer scroll case as well, similar. It came as a suggestion from players. So we have trivia answers here to the question that hasn't been answered of 48, 2, 7, 248, 110, 6. No, too high. Although 2, you have one of the digits correct. And the trivia question this week is, how many ancient relics are in a rare golden jade treasure chest? So Ronza just took flight. She just left. Maybe you restocked your golden jade treasure or golden jade scroll case stash. That's a mouthful. And you can do those maps, and in the chest you get relics. And as Stejan has pointed out, you get 20 is the correct answer. The answer is Giorgio is incorrect. I'm going to stick with 20 in a rare golden jade treasure chest. When you finish the map, claim the chest, open it up, you get 20 ancient relics, which is a great way to stock up on relics if you like doing area-specific maps, and or if you're a little bit picky when you do your maps and you want to discard them and re-roll them, then the more relics, the better. In a wave of 20s, come through the chat. I'll post a reward link in the chat. Cook mice are the bane of jade maps. Oh dear. Where can I put this link on the stream? Losing my voice here. Alright, there we go. Oh, that's up. Okay, cool. Ooh, what's going on here? Back your trap choice down for a cook, lower powered trap. The traps don't have any effect on encounter rate, so you'd be okay leaving your high level trap armed. I believe the cook mouse requires, or at least has a preference to super breed. Any news on the lab update? Yes, so as I was waiting for someone to spot out, I'm not sure if Jacob drew this one live. I think Jacob actually painted this mouse, I'm not 100% sure. You see it's tiny on my screen, it looks like Jacob drew it. I got that tab closed, can't double check. So that's another project we've been working on as well, is updating the burrows. So we started at the beginning of the game, and we're going forward and sort of adding new objectives, making the gameplay a little more interesting. Happy to share that we've had great success now with new players starting the game. They get further in the game, they stick around, they start playing longer, which is great for the longevity and the long-term health of the game. So the next area we're on to now is the burrows. We're combining the laboratory and the mausoleum into a single adventure. I believe we're going to keep it so that if you've completed the mausoleum adventure, then you'll already have a check mark off, so the adventure will be marked off as done. And the existing laboratory adventure, which I'm pretty sure is just one step to catch a dwarf mouse and get a key to Digby, that's going to basically be retired, set to inactive. Digby's going to maintain its role as sort of a bit of a side quest, so you'll be able to unlock that by doing a side quest objective in the laboratory to gain access to Digby. We're going to move the shadow traps as well into the laboratory so you can purchase them right away. And it's going to have a vampire / zombie theme where you're building barricades in the mausoleum to block off invading hordes of zombies so that instead you can hunt for vampires, including Mosvina von Vermin will be moved from the Event Mouse group into the right now it's called the Shadow Clan. I think we're going to rename that into something more Burrows themed. That's going to be a larger group. We're going to move a few more mice into that. The mutated white, gray, and brown are going to be moved into this new sort of Burrows group that was previously the Shadow Clan. And the adventure there will be to slay Mosvina von Vermin, who's then going to have the tattered map piece to the training grounds to move on. Mini Fort Rocks, a little bit, yeah. Instead of building a walls around your desert city, you're building very makeshift zombie barricades to lock yourself in away from hungry for brain mice. Are we going to update the adventure book sequence for Legendary and Hero? Right now it's kind of backwards. You can't complete the Legendary quest at Legendary. Which one is that? So the lichen won't drop the piece anymore, correct. Now it is going to be either dropped by Mosvina von Vermin, or we're going to make it a reward for completing the adventure. So when you claim the adventure reward, you get the map piece. The lichen will still be in the mausoleum. You'll be able to use moon cheese or crescent cheese there to encounter the lichen if you're looking for king's crowns. Will we get the option to redo the laboratory missions if we want to? We're open to suggestion there. We could go both ways. We could either take both the existing adventures, mark them as inactive so they kind of go away, and then we add a new adventure to complete. Or we could just update the objectives that exist within the Mausoleum adventure, but because you've already completed it, it's already all checked off saying you don't need to do it again. We could go both ways. Typically, or historically, we've updated the existing adventures so that when we added more gameplay to the windmill and the harbor, you didn't have to go back and redo those adventures to sort of have all the adventures complete in your book. And thematically as well, it feels weird that the goal of the adventure is to unlock the area that comes next, but you've already done that as a high-level player. It felt a little weird to go back and go on that adventure. Carnival location that runs old events 24/7. It's a little tricky actually to pull off technically. A lot of the event functionality is nicely encapsulated in something that can be turned on and off. But there's other sort of loose ends as well that need to be sort of manually configured to get it to work just right. Is there a device that allows staying in the echo chamber after capturing the absolute acolyte? No. We were putting together ideas for a mini event that would kind of temporarily give you that ability during the mini event, but it turned into a very large idea, and we decided to prioritize some other things. How many new mice should we expect? There's a few more coming than we've typically or historically done. That said, we want to time the release with Halloween. We're probably going to do the Ghost Ship event again for Halloween. And we want to make sure that there's a ghost ship in the burrows so that as a higher level player, you want to complete your mouse collection again. It'll kind of synergize well there where you can be working toward progress on completing the Halloween event while also going and getting a check marker and discovering all those breeds that we're at it. I think right now there's 4 or 5, but we're also taking the opportunity to use some Halloween mice, move them out of the event group into a new burrows group that was previously the Shadow Clan. I believe the Cobweb Mouse and the Spirit Light, as well as Mousevina von Vermin, are kind of marked. They're going to move out of the event mouse group, and that'll also minimize how many new mice you have to kind of go back and check. Yeah, we'd love a new adventure to do. Yeah, open to kind of see what other hunters think if we want to change that pattern from what we've done historically. Any new traps or base should we expect for Halloween? Little early. We've just kind of started to spitball and sort of do some scaffolding of ideas for Halloween, but no progress to report yet or any details. But good to know that there's some enthusiasm for doing the Ghost Ship. Please do a Ghost Ship in Tribal Isles. That could be a nice little update as well. The Ghost Ship lends itself well to breathing a little new life into it each year by adding a new Ghost Ship in new locations. Teenage Vampire. That might be a good option as well. I believe there's a Teenage Vampire mouse as an event mouse. We could use a few more vampire-themed mice. There's a new sort of blood-themed cheese that you're going to be able to craft in the mausoleum to lure vampires toward your trap, which sounds disgusting, but I guess vampires would like that. It's hard to do the Acolyte adventure without being a hero. I don't think so. You can purchase the Forgotten Pressure Plate Trap in the Catacombs, I think is where it's sold, and then you'll have a Forgotten Trap. You can make all your runic cheese in the Forbidden Grove, and then move on to the Acolyte realm. Or your Pressure Plate Trap, you won't have the best catch rate. Some runic cheese, hope for the best. Probably within a couple days you'll bag an Acolyte. Forgot about the pressure plate got added kind of down the road. Originally, so a little bit of mouse hunt history, the dragon mouse was expected to be the very last mouse in the game. We thought there'd be no way that this little game where you capture or you click a button every 15 minutes to capture mice could possibly be that popular that it would hold people's attention for any longer than making it to the dragon. We were certainly wrong there, but with that in mind, the pathway to sort of build your Ice Maiden and all that was very elaborate, very involved, sort of over-the-top, extreme, epic, because it was like this grand finale to the entire game that we thought so few players will actually make it to that point. But that, fortunately, that was not the case. It worked out much better than that. So kind of went back and took the opportunity to add a Forgotten Trap there just to kind of streamline things a little bit. There's certainly a lot more to do after the dragon. There's way more epic things to take on. And we kind of approach those as more like side quest sort of stuff, extra challenges you can take on for yourself rather than the main storyline having some extremely complicated hoops to jump through to try to figure out how to kind of move on to the next thing. Is the catch rate for the Forgotten Pressure Plate Trap only a % or 2 higher than using the acronym? It should be better because the Acolyte mouse isn't particularly weak to Arcane. But off the top of my head, I don't know the exact numbers there. 10-year mouse anniversary in just a few days. Congrats. Michelle says, don't forget to blow out your candles on your cake. Or that'd be 100 Super Breeze at 10 per candle? I don't remember. All right, on that note, as my voice is beginning to fail me for some reason, at the 45-minute mark, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be posting some Feedback Friday summaries as well. Looking forward to get more feedback as well. You can leave your thoughts on specifically Scavenger Hunts. We're looking for all things about scavenger hunts. As I said, over the next week or two, we're going to be pulling together a lot of the loose ends, kind of doing our final polish, and so the more feedback and player suggestions and input we have, that'll really help us make some decisions. So specifically, what map or what items on maps would you never want to see on scavenger hunts? Just like rule those out. Things personally come to mind for me: sandblasted metal, temporal shadow plate, that sort of thing. As well as, what type of items do you think are a good fit? Like whether it's radioactive blue potion, stale cheese, splintered wood, that sort of thing. As well as, what was the other feedback question here? All right, treasure map clues. I had pretty good feedback in the chat. No really red flags went off. By all means, looking for more feedback about, should you find treasure map clues while you're doing a scavenger hunt, or should we keep those two ideas separate, with it just being a scoreboard that kind of increments in the background and then pulling that stat into the interface as well, so when you're inviting a friend to a scavenger hunt, you can see how many scavenger hunt items they have found. Whew, mouthful. Well, again, thanks for joining me, Hunters. Thanks for all the great feedback. Jacob will join you next week, and then I'll be 2 weeks from then, I think, anyway. I think I'll be here. Happy hunting. Have a great weekend or a great week whenever you happen to be watching this. See you later.